A response to that?
I think when we were starting, I mentioned that the law should be a servant of common sense. And to find ourselves arguing about the fact that we have to debate whether shouting in my ears can burst my eardrum and deprive me of my right to health should be debatable, that's another story. I think he's mentioned about history. I think the over-glorification, we are so stuck in history that the present is just leaving us behind. We are talking about AI, and we are still talking about, crying about what the colonialists did to us. When will we get to that point where we stop burying our heads so much in our history? Yes, there were injustices that were done unto us. People paid for them. So what? Are we going to continue crying because there were injustices and then do nothing and leave our children to continue doing the same? I think as a generation of young people, we need to stop this overemphasis. Yes, it's good to understand our history, but we need to perspectivify the present and invest in the future. We are at a point as a country where we know we don't need to remind us every time about our history, but we are ready to move forward. Mm-hmm. Why can't we move forward? We have a constitution by itself. There is Article 37. My friends, we don't need a law to restrict it. Article 24 already restricts. Mm-hmm. Article 37. What other law do we need? Mm-hmm. Like I asked, why are you coming to notify the police if you don't need their help? Mm-hmm. I have seen procession marches by the Salvation Army. They have their marshals. Those marshals are well positioned to even direct traffic, to keep all their people in line. Mm-hmm. As a person, if that's what I see that in line with Article 37. That's what I would expect. If you don't need the police, then provide alternative avenues of ensuring that you don't infringe on my right. So that when you have people infiltrating these demonstrations to loot a supermarket, you have those marshals, like I see with the Salvation Army, who are going to stop that or identify them.
Self-regulating.
Self-regulation. You can, yes, that's what is in Article 37. When you talk about peaceably and unarmed, that is self-regulation. You don't go out in anticipation of war and expect not to fight. Because this, you've heard about kuuza woga. Mm-hmm. Today, people are staying at home for fear. Because when you look at what is happening on TV, which is unfortunate, then it becomes very difficult for you to step out there. I would like to bring to my attention of my brother that the law must be applied wholesomely. The problem we have as a country is the convenient application of the law. We choose one article that suits our interests and we run away with it. Yes. We forget about all others. We are actually here arguing about restrictions. And yet we have Article 27 that says, I, as Odweyo Kennedy, have a right to enjoy my right, regardless of how. Yeah, that is already there, but we are debating it. So, Fred, I think as a country, and especially as young people, we need to get to a point where there were issues in the past. We take responsibility. That is what people who want change do. That's what people who are trying to correct the messes of the past do. They remember their history and keep it in their mind. They don't use that as a tool to advance, whether personal or societal interest. And that's where we get lost. That's where this conversation, we have challenges as a country, but we distort the real conversations when we overemphasize on the past more than the future. Because as a country, I want to tell you for free, Fred, even without this constitution, if we just use common sense, we will propel ourselves to if we accepted that we can be civil, we can be reasonable, and decide we don't want these problems. And even from our small capacities, we can achieve that, my brother.
Civil, reasonable, are those adjectives that you can use for the Kenyan society, even for our politicians?